The interrogation room aboard the Imperial dreadnought Mercy's End smelled like disinfectant and scorched plasma. Cold light bled from above, sterile and relentless, reflecting off the white synth steel walls. In the center sat a woman, arms bound behind a chair that was clearly not built with human anatomy in mind. Her hair was a tangled mess caked with grime and blood, but her eyes, calm, piercing, and entirely unimpressed, watched her captors with the air of someone stuck in a mildly annoying DMV line. Commander Ulick Var stood across from her, posture rigid, chin high. He wore the gray-black uniform of the Galactic Enforcement Directorate, adorned with commendation chips that jingled softly as he paced. He had the confidence of a man who'd conquered 17 systems without breaking a sweat, and the smugness of someone who thought that made him interesting. You are subject number H793, human female, captured near the outer rim skirmish site of Etris V. You have refused to identify yourself or comply with Article 12 of the Surrendering Species Accord. This conduct will no longer be tolerated. She stared at him for a beat, then another. Then, as if bored already, she muttered, "You really rehearsed that in the mirror, didn't you?" Var blinked. His second-in-command, Subcommander Linek, shifted uneasily beside him, tentacles quivering in confusion. What? I'm just saying," she continued, her voice low and gravel-lined. "You sound like a guy who practiced that whole speech while brushing his mandibles, in front of a mirror. Naked, probably." The translator drone stuttered for a second, as it struggled to map sarcasm into any known dialect of high imperial standard. It whirred, choked, and settled on a mechanical cough. Var leaned forward, hands braced on the table. "You mock the authority of the Galactic Empire?" "No," she said with a faint shrug. "I mock you. And whatever quivering sack of slugs built this chair," Linek opened a datapad. "She remains unidentified in all database sectors. Biometric scans are scrambled. Blood chemistry shows non-standard modulations. She could be genetically augmented." "Obviously," Var snapped. "She's still alive." He turned to her again, exasperated. "Who trained you? The Terran Defense Coalition? One of the banned mercenary groups? What's your rank?" She leaned back, or tried to. The chair groaned under the pressure. She tilted her head, cracked her neck, and said, "I was a Girl Scout. We were always prepared." Var stared. "That is not a sanctioned military designation." "I made cookies. You blew up an armored transport with an orbital cargo claw. They were really good cookies." Linek looked visibly disturbed, which for his species meant his gill flaps began to rhythmically pulsate. "Commander, she killed 42 soldiers with improvised tools. One of them was found with a deck chair embedded in his skull. She's human." "Unpredictable," Var said. "All of them are like this. Chaotic systems in sentient form." The woman smiled. "You say that like it's a bad thing." Var stepped closer. "You were warned. One more refusal to cooperate and—" "Oh no, please," she deadpanned. "Don't tell me. I've heard this speech before. One more refusal and blah blah termination protocol. Let me guess, you're going to try and make an example out of me? Scare the rest of the humans into line? You think we fear you?" "I think," she said slowly, "you're about to have a very bad day." The room paused. Even the drone hesitated in mid-hover, as if sensing the shift in weight behind her words. Var stood tall. "This is pointless." He gestured sharply to the guard beside the door. "Execute her. Clean shot, center mass. Make it slow." The guard, a four-armed Crixan enforcer, raised its rifle. She didn't flinch. Not when the muzzle glowed with charging plasma. Not when the hum hit a high-pitched whine. Not even when it fired. The bolt struck her directly in the chest, hurling her and the chair backwards with a violent crack. Her head whipped against the floor. She lay motionless, blood pooling beneath her ribs. The air smelled of burnt fabric and seared skin. Silence. Var exhaled. "There, done." Linek tilted his head. "That seems easy." Var looked down at her body, narrowing his eyes. Sometimes they die fast. That doesn't make them special. She warned us. She postured. Her vitals are still active. Var turned, annoyed. What? Linek tapped his pad. Micro-residual readings. Faint, but wait. They're dropping. Heart activity null. Pulse 0. See? She's dead. Typical human bluff. I think she was being literal. Var waved a hand. Have her body dumped into reclamation. And double-check for explosives. I wouldn't put it past their kind to booby-trap a corpse. The guards moved in. One leaned down to inspect her. Her eyes were open, glassy, fixed. Then the lights flickered. Just once, then again, a third time, and then they stayed off. The hum of the engines dulled to a whisper. Emergency red lighting kicked in with a harsh snap, bathing the chamber in a crimson glow. Alarms sounded faintly in the distance, high-pitched and erratic. The floor vibrated subtly beneath their boots. What now? Var barked, stepping back. Toward the door. Linek peered at his datapad. Power grid just took a surge, internal systems failing. Motion sensors triggered, multiple sectors breached. She's dead, Var said flatly. Another alarm. This one from the bridge, unauthorized. Movement detected in Deck 7, Linek said, voice rising. Armory breach, sensors confirm, one humanoid. Var's eyes widened. It's not possible, we shot her. You think you shot her, Linek said quietly. In the hall outside, a scream echoed. Then another. Something metallic crashed. Security channels erupted with garbled shouting. Var turned to the guard. Get back up, now! All of it! The guard moved to the door. It didn't open. What? The walls groaned. Not with pressure, with sound. Soft, rhythmic. A low-pitched whistle. Slow and deliberate. Whistling a tune familiar. From old Earth files. Var paled as it clicked into place. Is that? Yes, Linek whispered. Annie Lennox, Earth Century 20. That's sweet dreams. The whistling grew louder. She was coming. Var backed up, reaching for his sidearm. The lights went out completely. A whisper in the dark. Too close, too human. You really shouldn't have killed me. Gunfire erupted. Screams followed. When the lights came back, she was gone. Only the chair remained, empty, scorched, and missing one leg. On the wall, in smeared blood, were 4 words. Baba Yaga was here. The ship's AI had been built to withstand frontal assaults from asteroid-scale kinetic warheads, to handle rogue black hole proximity events, and even to simulate philosophical conversations with the Empire's leading artificial ethicists. It was not, however, programmed for what was happening now. Deck by deck, the dreadnought Mercy's End descended into chaos. The security system logged dozens of inexplicable failures, automatic turrets fried from the inside out, sealed doors, overridden by someone who wasn't supposed to exist anymore, and biometric scanners registering the presence of a single dead woman in 12 places simultaneously. Down in central systems, technicians barked orders, trying to reboot node clusters that weren't responding. The AI stammered in a clipped voice loop, desperately trying to make sense of the logic paradox in its core data stream. Every diagnostic came back with the same error. User not found. System override. Baba Yaga. On Deck 7, a team of elite Myronian shock troopers, each with a decorated kill record and skin that could deflect ion rounds, stood in a combat. Triangle outside the armory. One by one, their vitals flatlined in silence. No alerts, no gunfire. Only the sickening crunch of something metal dragging across the floor. Commander Var stood at the bridge, his hands gripping the edge of the control console hard enough to leave dents. The lighting had been reduced to the flickering pulses of amber emergency strips, giving everything a haunted sheen. He watched as a map of the ship's internal layout updated in real time, section after section, changing from green to red. I want her found, he snapped. This is not a ghost, it's a trick. Some kind of primitive Terran neurowarfare. Hallucinations, VR illusions, a hormone-based fear gas. Something explainable. Linek stood behind him, still clutching his datapad like a flotation device. We scanned her. She had no implants, no biologics. The shot hit her clean. Plasma bolts liquefy organs, Commander. This doesn't happen. It is happening, Var snarled. So figure out how and tell the troops to stop dying while you're at it. Behind them, a junior officer, barely out of hatchling, staggered in, pale and shaking. He spoke through a mouth that could barely form words. Sir, engineering crew's gone, all of them. We just got footage. There was this shadow moving through the smoke, fast, like she wasn't walking, more like gliding. Var stared at him. Did you say gliding? Yes. And she was humming. A song. I don't know it, something old. Earth vintage. Something about dreams. Being made of things. Var turned slowly. That's the same tune. Linek whispered. She's not just killing them. She's haunting the ship. Ridiculous, Var snapped. She's one person, flesh and blood. This ship has over 8,000 crew. She can't kill all of them. She's not trying to kill them, Linek said, his voice distant. She's breaking the idea of safety, turning the crew's own fear into a weapon. Classic human asymmetric warfare. Var growled, stepping forward. She's one unarmed woman. Linek held up his pad, displaying a kill log. She just took down the Grav Marshal of Deck Security with a cafeteria tray. There was a long pause. The junior officer broke. Sir, there's more. She left a message on the Grav Marshal's body, etched it into his armor with a plasma cutter. Var didn't ask what it said. He didn't need to. The bridge lights flickered again. The red glow deepened. The temperature dropped by 6 degrees in under a minute. A faint hiss came through the intercom system. An old song, distorted, dragging in its playback like a broken cassette tape from a century long gone. Sweet dreams are made of this. She's toying with us, Var muttered. No, Linek said. She's conducting psychological warfare on a ship-wide level, and doing it better than anyone I've seen. Var stepped back toward the tactical console. Then we change the game. Lock down non-essential areas. Flush all atmospheric sectors she's entered. If she can breathe vacuum, I'll personally start believing in ghosts. Sir, the junior officer said nervously. We already tried that. She walked out of the decompression chamber, alone, then gave the camera the finger. Silence. Linek's fronds drooped in what could only be described as existential despair. Var straightened, forcing calm into his voice. Call the Inquisitor. Linek blinked. Sir, the Inquisitor is on Varan 5, weeks away. Then call him anyway. I want a ship quarantine, full psychic lockdown, no teleportation, no communications in or out without a triple-coded sigil. You think this is psychic? I think we're in over our heads, and I'm not dying because we underestimated a Terran who refused to give her name. There was a beep on the console. A transmission incoming. Internal channel. Originating from the medbay. But medbay had been red for 30 minutes. The screen blinked. It was her. Alive, smiling, wearing a black tactical vest that didn't belong to the Empire, covered in soot with dried blood along one arm. She sat casually on a medbay table, sipping something from a metal mug. She raised it toward the screen like a toast. Hiya, boys. The bridge froze. I was gonna be polite, she continued, but then you shot me, which was kinda rude. So now I'm officially pissed. I'm also bored, so let's play a game. Oh, reached for the controls. The screen flickered and locked, jammed. You don't get to hang up, she said, grinning. See, you woke up something you really shouldn't have. I was trying to be chill, retired, living off-grid. I had a chicken coop, solar still, read books with spines. But no, the big bad Empire had to come poking around. Linek's fronds curled into a ball. She was in hiding. I'm not military, she said, leaning in. Not anymore. Haven't been for a long time. But I used to be something else. Something you don't have a word for in your pristine Imperial dialects. You guys don't have monsters, do you? Real ones, I mean. Var's voice cracked. What are you? Her smile widened. You killed me to find out. Bad call. You ever heard of the Baba Yaga? Nobody on the bridge spoke. You will. She tossed the cup. It shattered on the medbay floor. The screen went black. Var took a breath. Track that transmission. Find her. Now. The junior officer flailed at the console. We can't. It came from 13 decks simultaneously. 13? Var shouted. There are only 12 decks. She added one, Linux said flatly. More screams echoed through the hull, faint and muffled. The AI tried again to regain stability, flooding the ship with random calming phrases and incorrect trivia about Terran agriculture. Var turned to Linux. What did she do in her past life? What was her rank? Linux hesitated. I found something, buried in a sealed SolNet file. She was once a Black Ops commander under the codename Witchwalker, part of a shadow unit Earth denies exists. Specialized in operations with no survivors? Why the hell would she be on a frontier colony? Retirement, Linux whispered. A crash from just outside the bridge sent everyone ducking. The doors behind them hissed and someone or something dragged a blade along the corridor wall, long and slow. Sweet dreams are made of this. Var pulled his sidearm. Linux drew nothing. I don't think guns matter anymore, he said quietly. Var didn't answer. He only stared as the lights flickered again. This time, they didn't come back on. The ship's artificial gravity wobbled like a drunk on roller skates, flickering on and off with every power loop she hijacked. Crew members stumbled through the corridors, weapons drawn but increasingly useless, firing at shadows that didn't bleed. Somewhere deep in the ventilation shafts, the humming grew louder, that eerie Terran song looping with distorted crackle. It wasn't just noise anymore. It was a message. In the lower decks, panic had transformed into something worse. Belief. Rumors spiraled faster than command could crush them. She couldn't be killed. She walked through walls. She'd eaten the Psi troopers alive. They said she wasn't human. They said she was Earth's wrath made flesh. The humans called her Baba Yaga. But on this ship she was becoming legend. Inquisitor Halrex arrived by emergency shuttle, his presence broadcasting a dampening field designed to suppress psychic anomalies. He wore robes lined with copper threads and a portable singularity lens on his forehead, a living truth detector and memory reader. His ship hadn't even docked before the question started. Did she breach planetary codes? Yes. Was she terminated? Yes. Then why am I here? They showed him the footage. The command center, the med bay, the disappearing bodies. The half-sung lullaby turning into a death chant. Halrex watched, blinking slowly, his vertical pupils narrowing into slits. Then he rewound, paused, and pointed. There, he said. She's looking directly into the camera, but there is no camera. Not from that angle. You're saying she knew it would be there? I'm saying she made it be there, Commander Var clenched his jaw. She's not magic. Neither was your empire, Halrex said. And now look at it. The dreadnought groaned. Metal shifted somewhere far below. Another scream fizzled across the intercom. The Inquisitor turned, unfazed. She's not haunting you. She's hunting you. Difference is, ghosts don't usually cut off your knees and force-feed them to you. I've deployed every asset we have, Var muttered. Fire teams, mechs, tactical psychics. We flushed entire decks into vacuum. She's still here. Of course she is, Halrex replied. Because this isn't your ship anymore, it's hers. You built her a steel cathedral with 8,000 sacrifices. All you did was hand her the key. Var slammed his fist on the console. She was one. Woman? She still is. That's the joke. You're playing chess. She's playing Calvin ball with a grenade. Linux reappeared, face pale, hands shaking. We traced the neural uplink surge she's using. She's bouncing signals through the walls, rerouting internal drones, puppeteering machinery like it's muscle tissue. We tried to jam it. She jammed it. Then rewrote our firewall to spell out try harder, dipshits. Halrex smiled faintly. That's definitely human. She shouldn't know how to interface with our systems. Linux hissed. She shouldn't be alive, Var snapped. We're past should. Then the alarms cut. Not just dimmed, cut. Systems shut down entirely, one by one. The ship's main reactor initiated safety protocol. The bridge went black. An eerie calm fell. The kind of silence people hear before a predator pounces. On every screen in every hallway, across every glowing panel, a single word burned in crimson font. Knock knock. Brace, Halrex said, drawing a needle-thin blade that shimmered with quantum instability. What is it? Var asked. She's here. A soft voice echoed from the overhead speaker. Her voice, smooth, amused, warm in a terrifying way. You know what I missed, boys? She said. Baths, real ones, not sonic, showers or protein scrubs. Real hot water, bubbles, candles, some Johnny Cash playing in the background. You ever heard of Johnny Cash? No one moved. Never mind, not your scene. Point is, I tried peace. I tried soft living, chickens, tomatoes, a hammock. I had a hammock. Damn it, then you came, you ended me, and something inside stayed awake. The screens glitched again. More footage. A crew member sobbing into their helmet. Another trying to shoot himself with an empty weapon. A third barricading himself in a storage closet and repeating the word witch until his tongue failed. I told you once. Her voice continued. But you weren't listening, so here it is again. I'm not a soldier. I'm not your enemy. I'm your reckoning. Halrex made a sound that might have been a prayer or a swear. She's conducting a psychological overwrite, he said. Replacing their training with trauma. She's rewriting their minds. She's murdering them, Var growled. No, Halrex replied. That would be mercy. This is theology. She's making them believe in her. The light snapped back. On, but now everything was bathed in violet hue. Not standard emergency protocol. This was custom. The AI returned, but its voice was wrong. Slow, casual, distinctly human. Welcome to Baba Yaga's House of Regret, it said cheerfully. All sales are final. No refunds. Linek opened a console, fumbled with the internal scanner, and then backed away like it had burned him. She's in the ship. Not physically, digitally, she cracked the AI core. Var froze. She's what? Halrex's eyes narrowed. She is the ship now. Below them, the internal map updated again. Crew biosigns were disappearing rapidly, not just as death signals, but as corrupted data. Entire life histories wiped, military records scrubbed in real time. It was more than execution. It was erasure. Why would she do that? Linek whispered. What's the point of deleting who they were? To make them a cautionary tale, Halrex said softly. No survivors. No stories. Just whispers. At that moment, an impact rocked the vessel, small but deliberate. From one of the cargo bays. She launched an escape pod? Var asked. Linek checked. No, she landed one. From where? She recycled one of ours, piloted it back in, used the docking tube to smuggle a new payload on board. What kind of payload? The answer came before he finished, asking. Gravity surged, the bulkhead screamed, and then laughter, soft, male, familiar. Var blinked at the feed. Another human, male, bearded, sleeves rolled up. Grinning like he was here to fix a sink, not invade a warship. Howdy, the man said into the nearest security drone. Name's Ray, I'm her husband. Everyone on the bridge stared at the screen. She brought backup? Linek said, stunned. She brought her husband, Halrex muttered. Ray was already moving, disabling cameras with practiced flicks of a screwdriver and boot knife. Behind him, modified engineering drones floated in a wedge formation, repurposed from mining gear, plasma welders, rail drills, arc lances. She's not here to escape, Halrex said. She's here to take the ship, Linek realized. Commander Var stared at the readout, voice suddenly hoarse. She's not Baba Yaga. They looked at him. She's the start of something worse. Halrex nodded slowly. They said Earth was broken, that it fractured after the war. But it didn't. It just went quiet. Var swallowed hard. Halrex drew a data spike and plugged it into the console, sending a galactic-level alert, contagion protocol, isolation clause, deny re-entry to any human vessel from this quadrant, effective immediately. Is that even legal? Linek asked. Doesn't matter, Halrex said. If she takes this ship, she'll make a message of it, and the galaxy will hear. The transmission began uploading and then stopped. The screen froze. A second later, a video appeared. The woman again. Hair tied back, blood on her collar, eyes calm and focused. Hi. Just wanted to say, nice try. Halrex cursed and yanked the owl. Spike, it burned his hand, she waved. This ship is mine now. But don't worry, I'm not greedy. I just want a few things, some space, some quiet, maybe a small moon. Oh, and a new chicken coop. Behind her, Ray gave a thumbs up. Then the video cut. The console sparked and died. Silence returned. But this time it was worse. Because it wasn't silence from fear. It was silence from knowing they'd already lost. The Galactic Empire sent a fleet of 77 ships to intercept the stolen dreadnought, all bristling with plasma lances and quantum disruptors. They arrived in formation, full burn, weapons primed to carve her out of the void like a tumor. Tactical analysts ran thousands of simulations. All predicted the same result: overwhelming victory. One woman and her backyard-modified husband could not possibly stand against the Empire's finest. Except they didn't count on the dreadnought being angry. It didn't move like a warship anymore. It didn't hold position, didn't wait for firing solutions. It pounced. The gravity slingshot maneuver it pulled around a dead moon should have torn it apart. Instead, it flipped broadside, vented coolant like smoke from a bull's nostrils, and opened fire with patterns that didn't match any known military doctrine. That was the first hint. The second was the soundtrack. Ray had rerouted the external audio systems to blast Bad to the Bone on a loop. Across 77 bridges, alien admirals stared at their screens in mute confusion, while George Thorogood's guitar solo howled through the ether. By the time they realized this wasn't an intimidation tactic, but a declaration of rhythm-based warfare, it was already too late. The dreadnought's railguns didn't just target vital systems. They shot through weak points that shouldn't have been visible. Engineering decks, comms hubs, captain's quarters, not for damage, for humiliation. And then, with choreographed precision, the stolen dreadnought unleashed mining drones. Dozens of them, jury-rigged into boarding pods armed with welding torches and EMP grenades. Inside the chaos, she walked calmly, boots clicking against scorched alloy, her face smudged, her stance loose, as if she was shopping for groceries and not threading through the charred husks of command centers. Ray trailed behind, whistling, dragging a cart loaded with stolen rations and alien liquor. They weren't here to win. They were here to rob the Empire. Admiral Zareth, commanding the flagship Vengeful Resplendence, screamed for reinforcements. His eyes bulged at the footage of his officers tied up with extension cords, his weapons disarmed by memes uploaded into targeting software. The AI had rewritten his ship's primary control language into what it referred to as Leet-speak 1998. Nothing made sense anymore. Why can't we counter-hack her? He bellowed. She's not hacking, the technician snapped. She rewrote the OS, she built a new language and taught it to the ship. That's not possible. Neither is her resurrecting from a plasma blast, sir. And yet here we are. Zareth blinked at his screen as the dreadnought pirouetted again, using a smaller cruiser as a literal battering ram against another. It wasn't just a ship now. It was an expression of her will. Across the fleet, command structures collapsed. Not from damage, from doubt. No one wanted to be on a ship that might be next. No one wanted to be the admiral whose escape pod was found 30 light-years away with property of Baba Yaga spray-painted on it. Ray intercepted a frequency on open channel. You know, he said, chewing what looked like a piece of alien jerky. I always thought the Empire had more style. But your passwords? Weak. Your fleet patterns predictable and your ship designs? Buddy, we've seen more curves on a ruler. A low, guttural voice responded. Who are you? Her husband. And you assist her? Ray chuckled. Nah. Man, I just hold her coat. The dreadnought began broadcasting every intercepted command back to the entire fleet, looping through every open channel. Strategic calls, pleas for help, private fears whispered into comms. Everything became part of the noise. The psychological warfare wasn't just effective, it was poetic. Ships peeled off, captains abandoned rank. Entire vessels disabled their own weapons, not because they believed it would save them, but because they didn't want their legacy to end in a meme. The woman, once shot and left for dead, now held the galaxy's gaze like a sermon on vengeance. Inside, the dreadnought. Halrex sat in a containment cell, knees drawn to his chest. The walls shimmered with rewritten code. Her code. She didn't kill him. Not yet. Not because she showed mercy, but because she wanted him to watch. This wasn't just revenge, he muttered, eyes wild. You're building something. She appeared in the doorway, not with fanfare, but with a slow nod. I was never after them, she said. Not. Just them. Then what? She looked at him like he'd missed the joke everyone else got. Hope. The galaxy gave up on humans, called us extinct, violent, obsolete. And then we showed them what we do when you give us nothing to lose. You're going to spark a war. I'm going to spark a story, she replied. And stories are harder to kill than people. Ray poked his head in. Babe, got the gravity wells set for ignition. That planet cracker's online too. Also, we're out of snacks. She turned back to Halrex. Your empire erased my name from the records, so now I don't need one. I'll wear the title they gave me. Baba Yaga. Halrex stared. You're insane, she smiled. That's what they said about Johnny Appleseed. But he still planted the trees. Outside, the dreadnought hovered above a massive empire fueling station, its engines trembling. It began to rise. Then, from its underbelly, the impossible happened. It duplicated. A second ship, smaller but identical in structure, peeled off like it had always been there. Then another, and another. Not physical ships, but digital blueprints. She was printing dreadnoughts using captured fabrication arrays, each one automated, AI-controlled, and imbued with her voice. She wasn't building an army, she was building a legend. Galactic news feeds went into chaos. Some labeled her a terrorist. Others called her a prophet. A few broadcast her footage like divine revelation, dissecting every word like scripture. Civil unrest brewed on fringe colonies. Mercenary bands changed their colors. Empire-loyal planets suddenly found themselves on the receiving end of courtesy packages from the Baba Yaga fleet. Care boxes full of Earth-made tech, AI fragments encoded with her laughter, and invitations to reconsider which gods you serve. The Galactic Council demanded intervention. Martial law expanded. Bounties were issued. But none of the bounty hunters came back, at least not in one piece. One showed up duct-taped to his own escape pod with a note pinned to his chest. Try, again, but make it interesting. Empire propaganda tried to spin her as a rogue ghost, a software glitch, a failed weapon. But with every broadcast she hacked, she reminded them that ghosts don't leave footprints. And hers were everywhere. Back on Earth, what little of it remained, the resistance stirred. Underground cities lit up. Satellites blinked back to life. Old veterans dusted off gear long buried in concrete tombs. They heard her call. She wasn't just vengeance. She was permission. The permission to be angry. To fight back. To stop waiting for justice and instead become it. And somewhere in a quiet orbital station hidden between transmission shadows, a young cadet watched the footage of the dreadnought breaking into pieces above a supernova star. The feeds died. Silence fell. Then the monitor flickered. A final message appeared. No gods, no masters, just humans. Underneath it, the seal of a new fleet. The Baba Yaga Armada. No one knew where she'd go next, but everyone knew they'd hear. The music first.